In today's video, I'm going to be going over 5 signs that you have a weak core. I'm Dr. Garrett with GuerrillaZen Fitness, and today we're going to be going over the 5 signs that show that you might have a weak core. And so a point that needs to be made here is that our core is not just the front. It's the front, the sides, the back, the bottom, your pelvic floor, and the top, which is your diaphragm. And so when that whole system isn't functioning right, we tend to have problems further up or down the chain. And a concept I want to go over with you guys is proximal stability equals distal mobility, which basically means that our brain uses our core as a stable platform for our prime movers, our shoulders, and our hips to move off of. So if we lose that stability in our core, in our platform, ultimately our brain won't let our prime movers either move as much or produce as much power, which then decreases performance and can open us up to injury. So the most common way we see that the core gets shut down is from sitting a lot. We don't use our core musculature. And so if we go from sitting all day at work, say, but then try to go play soccer at night or play golf on the weekends, our body doesn't just automatically loosen up and become strong again. And so that opens up a ton of room for injury and pain and lost performance because our core is just shut down from sitting all day. So we're going to show you 5 things that you might notice throughout your workouts or throughout your movements that could be signs of a weak core here. All right, for these next 3, I'm going to take you through a little movement and show you kind of what that core weakness looks like, or the compensation for the core weakness. So the exercise we're going to do is a single leg squat. And so you just sit down here nice and easy and come up. So what you want to look for first and foremost, do they hold their breath, or do you hold your breath? Holding the breath and jaw clenching are classic signs of core weakness. So what that'll look like is you just come down. So basically, are they having to put forth more effort than what the exercise would actually need? And so obviously I can't really talk while I was holding my breath. But it's super important because the diaphragm is a compensatory mechanism for the core to try to stabilize. And so if you're doing a one rep max, sure, hold your breath. But if you're doing a circuit and you're constantly holding your breath, that's not going to bode very well for you. So the second one to look for is what their hands are doing, or what your hands are doing. And so when you come down, if you see them holding their arms like this and really flexing their arms and coming up, they're trying to activate some of the arm fascial lines, that connective tissue that we've talked about before, to stabilize the core. And while it obviously isn't in the core, but it can help stabilize it when the core isn't working properly. All right, so this last one is seeing what the toes are doing. So I like to do these exercises barefoot. And so basically what you're looking for is when you squat down, you want to keep your big toe down, and the other one's fairly loose and stable, but not clenching too much. What we see a lot, especially if the glute isn't activating well on that side, is the toes tend to crunch, and you get a lot of instability with your knee and ankle. And so you can see here, this is trying to compensate for a weak core or a glute that can't control the hip well enough. So an important point that I want you guys to know is that we're looking for these signs in submaximal lifts. So you saw there, like a body weight single leg squat is not a maximal lift. If you're deadlifting 450 off the ground, gain some stability in any way that you can. That's not what I'm talking about here. We're looking more at if you're just walking or bending down to pick something up and you're clenching your jaw, that is definitely a sign that your core isn't functioning right. So another sign that you might have some core weakness or some dysfunction going on is if you are foam rolling, lacrosse balling, or stretching the same muscles day in and day out. And maybe that's not the core specifically, but there are definitely some patterns that you are just overworking over and over and over again. And remember, we got to look for the thing beneath the thing. So if you find yourself stretching your hamstrings constantly, we'll put a link to the video down below. We did a whole video on hamstring stretching. But if you're lacrosse balling, that knot in your shoulder blade, or constantly stretching out your neck, there's probably something else going on below it, and usually it's something to do with stability. All right, guys, so the last sign that we see a lot that can be an indicator of poor core strength is called anterior pelvic tilt. And so what that basically means is the tilt of your pelvis here. So instead of being nice and level, illustrated by the clipboard here, we see a lot of this. Basically our chest comes forward, our butt sticks out, and we create quite a curve in the lower back here. And so you can see how the clipboard moves here. So this is neutral. This is an anterior pelvic tilt. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video here today, make sure to look in the first comment below as well as in the description. There's a link to our anterior pelvic tilt workout that has all things to do with correcting that anterior pelvic tilt and getting your core stronger. Another place to get that workout is right here. Click here to subscribe to our channel and make sure to click down here to check out some other videos similar to this. Again, thanks for checking us out today, guys. Until next time, happy moving.